We finally figure out what SN16's final purpose might be, today at Starbase. We've long been wondering what the heck SpaceX is going to be doing with SN16, as it sat in the high bay for many weeks after SN15's successful test flight. SpaceX was working hard on the BN2 booster segments and building that up inside of the high bay. Right next to that BN 2.1 was the SN16 prototype, just sitting there, waiting for something to happen. For a long time we thought that SpaceX might be reflying this in a very similar flight path to SN15, but now we have some more details on what exactly SpaceX is planning, or at least Elon is. SpaceX moved the SN16 prototype right next to SN15 on a display mount, just outside of Starbase's main production area. This is going to allow SpaceX to show off the SN15 prototype right next to a very similar looking sibling, SN16. After this was moved over the weekend, we saw that Elon posted a little bit more details on what they're exactly planning to do with SN16. As of right now, which everything tends to change in Elon time, as of right now, SpaceX is planning on using the SN16 prototype for some hypersonic testing. For those of you who don't know the difference between the hypersonic testing that they're talking about and the supersonic testing that they've been completing with the SN8 through SN15 prototypes, hypersonic testing is just one step up. Typically, supersonic goes between the speed of sound at Mach 1 and around Mach 4 to 4.5. Hypersonic is anything above that, so hypersonic testing would include numbers up to Mach 5, Mach 7, crazy numbers like that, which will likely take even more propellant and not throttling those engines down during flight, as all of the current Starship tests have only been using the Raptors at a fraction of their potential, even allowing them to be turned off throughout the flight to keep the thrust-to-weight ratio in some kind of a sane margin. It's possible with SN16, SpaceX will throw all of those shackles aside and just go for it and see what kind of data they can gather. This kind of data will be very helpful in building out their whole orbital flight profile, and maybe even ironing out some kinks on SN20 before it flies. In what's becoming difficult to keep track of at this point, we have our 6th launch tower segment stacked and the 7th on the way. It is sitting right there waiting to be stacked. It is crazy to see just how fast SpaceX is throwing this launch tower up. We expect to see a lot more details on the orbital pad in the coming days as the tower is looking to be almost completed. And just today, RGV Aerial Photography tweeted out a picture that's an overlay composite of what SpaceX is intending to do with their launch site. This is what they currently have there at the launch site, and then they have some plans that they're adding to, including adding a whole nother launch tower, new tank farm, some lakes it looks like, and also some new landing pads. This is going to be an absolutely huge upgrade to the current launch facility, possibly supporting 2 simultaneous launches, or at least close back to back, like we saw with the SN9 and SN10 tests. Special thanks to RGV Aerial Photography for always providing really high quality images for the entire space community. We wish you the best of success, and if you want to support RGV directly, there'll be a link to their Patreon in the description below. Thank you so much for joining us today at Starbase. See you in the next one. Godspeed.